our last set of slides here about the supernovae is, again, something your book covers in a later chapter, and that is cosmic rays. But they also relate, just kind of like gamma ray bursts also relate to supernovae, so do cosmic rays. The discovery of cosmic rays was really part of the discovery about radioactivity. Here's some what we call some cloud tracks. There's something called a cloud chamber that we sometimes use in our physics class to measure radiation. And so what happens is you have saturated gas, and when a radioactive particle goes through there, then it will trigger the gas to make little droplets, and you shine light on it, and it looks like a little cloud, long linear cloud. And so in a magnetic field, some of them bend one way, some bend the other way, and some go straight. And so they call these particles alpha, beta, and gamma for depending on what they did. And so here we have some cloud chambers showing particles streaming through, and they didn't know what this was. They just started calling it radiation because it was something that was radiating energy. Now, this is particulate radiation that was being studied. And one of the problems they ran into, and this is something we run into when we do radioactive studies in our physics class, and that is that there's a lot of radioactive materials just exist in nature. There's a background radiation. Certain kind of minerals are going to be radioactive. Rocks have these radioactive minerals in them. There's isotopes of things that are out there that are radioactive. So pretty much any rock, concrete, cement, any of this stuff that is going to have some radioactive material in it. Even humans are radioactive because of the radioactive carbon-14. And so plants, anything. And so whenever we just study radiation in the lab, we have to measure just how radioactive is the background. And subtract that off for our measurements so that we can measure how radioactive the samples are. And so what they discovered was that they said, well, this is an interesting problem that we get this radiation and it's for all around you. So they were trying to measure what's the minimum of radiation. And so they built tall towers and put detectors at the top of towers, and sure enough, there was less radiation at the top of a long, tall tower than there was on the ground. And so what they did was, a fellow named Victor Hess decided to take a balloon flight and get higher and higher and higher to detect where is the actual minimum of radiation. So as he went higher, he realized that, yeah, you got less radiation from the ground, but at some point you kept getting radiation, and if you get high enough, the radiation would actually increase a little bit. And so that was a realization that there was radiation coming from space. And so he discovered this in 1912, got the Nobel Prize in 1936 for making that discovery. Another physicist by the name of Robert Millikan is the one that actually started calling this space radiation cosmic rays. And so that's the terminology we use for it. So there's different kind of cosmic rays. There's what we call primary cosmic rays. These are the particles flying through deep space that slam into the atmosphere, causing the cosmic radiation. If you're outside the atmosphere, this is what hits you, but when it hits the atmosphere, it actually blows apart some of the atoms in the atmosphere, the nitrogen and the oxygen atoms that are there, and causes a cascade of particles raining downwards. And those are what we call secondary cosmic rays. And the secondary cosmic rays, as they come radiating downwards, some of them, some are short-lived. They don't go all the way to the ground. Others make it all the way to the ground. And so at some altitude up here, you have the maximum amount of cosmic radiation, and that happens to peak at about 40,000 feet. That's kind of where some high-flying commercial airliners are. And so that's kind of one of your peak radiation zones right there. There's no way of shielding against it. If you have a spacecraft, rather an aircraft that had enough shielding to protect you from this, it'd be too heavy to get off the ground, and then it would not be an aircraft. And so you just accept that if you fly, you get cosmic radiation. If you're in space, you get the primary cosmic rays. And the cosmic rays actually have different levels of energy. There's low energy cosmic rays, and they're still pretty high energy compared to Earth-based radiation sometimes. The low energy cosmic rays are your solar cosmic rays. These are the ones that come from the sun, solar storms, and things that release radiation storms. There's high energy cosmic rays. They come from absolutely deep space out there somewhere in the galaxy. And then intermediate cosmic rays, and they probably originate near the edge of the solar system between the terminator and the bow shock, which makes kind of a little accelerator that accelerates things towards us. So where do you get all these super high energy cosmic rays? Something has to accelerate something super heavy like iron nuclei to near the speed of light. And the only thing powerful enough to do that is a supernova. And of course, that's where you get some of the iron too. I mean, you just blew up the core of a star that reached iron stage, and so you're going to be getting supernovae that are accelerating iron to near the speed of light. And so as they go into space, they tend to run into things. The most energetic cosmic ray was actually detected in 1991. It had a huge amount of energy there, 3 times 10 to the 14th MeV. Well, what does that mean? That means it's moving at that fraction of the speed of light. So that is so fast, it's very close to the speed of light. That means if it went for 1 billion years, it only would be less than 2 inches behind light traveling next to it. So they call this the OMG. Now, how does radiation damage you? It hits your body, causes a chemical reaction. Now, normally your body just accepts the chemical reaction and ignores it. Most of the time, these chemical reactions are totally inert. They don't really bother you. On rare occasions, the chemical that's being damaged is DNA. And that's essential for life. Now, DNA is a double helix right here. So the double helix has, what happens with the DNA is that one base pair is exactly matched to another base pair. So if you damage one of these somehow, your body knows exactly what matches there and can repair the damage. And so most of the time, radiation doesn't damage you that much. You have to have pretty powerful radiation that damages both sides here. Or if you happen to catch a cell in mitosis, when the DNA is actually replicating, and then it sort of unzips in here, and you have like a single strand. If you damage that single strand, your body doesn't know what's supposed to go there, and either excises it or sticks something random in there, and so you have genetic damage, and that's how radiation causes damage to your body. And so the cells that are most susceptible to this are the ones that replicate the fastest. That'd be the lining of your gut. That's why this gives you nausea, your bone marrow, so radiation can cause anemia, and your hair follicles, so your hair falls out. So these are some of the things that are most damaged by radiation, or the things that are constantly replicating a whole bunch. Heavy ion radiation, such as cosmic rays, primary cosmic rays, are so powerful that they can go right through the DNA and blow apart multiple parts of it instead of just one base pair. And now your body is damaged and doesn't know how to fix it. So that means the primary cosmic rays do vastly more damage than do the other kinds of radiation that we normally would experience. Now, what does this do? In science fiction, it makes you a superhero. Yay! In real life, radiation doesn't do that. In real life, it causes all kinds of other problems, kind of like on the list right here. And in fact, astronauts that come back from space missions have experienced all kind of issues. Astronauts that have spent time in space come back usually much more gray than they left. there's evidence that they have a higher incidence of cataracts than populated state on the ground. Most have some anemia, bone mass loss. They have a higher incidence of cancer than the general population. Because of the possibility of birth defects, the policy is that astronauts that go into space are supposed to be beyond child bearing years, and so that way you eliminate the possibility of birth defects. But these are the actual real effects of cosmic radiation. We did say in class that solar activity affects the rate of cosmic radiation that hits Earth. When the sun's more active, then the solar activity pushes away the cosmic rays and the high energy cosmic rays. When the sun's less active, you get more high energy cosmic rays. Right now, we're in a period of much lower solar activity, and so therefore there's an increase in the cosmic rays that are affected.